how will we insert the site logo into the header div? It would be my pleasure to show you. Let's flip back over to Photoshop, where I still have the marching ants from where we had left off in the previous exercise. So I'm going to go ahead and deselect by hitting Control-Command-D. And let's see here. What I'm going to do is, I want to select my logo, so I better turn that layer back on inside the Layers panel. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the texture and the header object itself. Remember, they're in a clipping group, so I can just turn off the remember I was calling this guy the cookie cutter. You can turn him off, and that will turn off the texture as well. All right. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I want to select the logo. And I think probably the easiest way to do this is going to be to turn off my guides and perhaps zoom in just a little bit. I'm going to grab my rectangular marquee tool out of the toolbox, or you can tap the M key on your keyboard. From the Style drop-down menu on the options bar, flip back to normal, and then do your best to select this guy. But we don't have to be very careful at all in terms of, the amount of space we grab on the left and right side of the logo. But I want to be careful that I don't grab the menu below the logo. So I just want to be careful here and try and grab exactly where the logo ends. And you might want to zoom in just a little bit more, Control-Command+. There we go. That's a perfect selection. So that will do just fine. Okay, so there's our marching ants there. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off my background layer all the way down at the bottom of the Layers panel. And now we have transparency. We have our checkerboard pattern there, right? Okay, now I just noticed that my logo appears to be somewhat transparent. I can see my checkerboard pattern through the logo. I wonder where that happened. Anyway, I grab the layer and I can see my opacity is 80%. I'm not sure when or where that happened, but we definitely want 100% in terms of our opacity for our logo. All right, now let's take this guy. I'm going to head back up to the Edit menu and then down to Copy Merged one more time. We want to grab all this stuff, and then we'll go and create a brand new file, Control-Command-N, take the defaults in terms of the width and height, and then paste, Control or Command-V, and there's our logo. All right, now this time what I want to do is I don't want to save this guy out as a JPEG, because if I do that, I'm going to get this white background, which I definitely don't want. I want the header texture showing through that background texture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disable the background layer once again inside the Layers panel. And then what I'll do is I will throw myself into the Save for Web and Devices dialog box. You're welcome to head back up to the File menu or hit Command-Shift-S or Control-Shift-S if you are so inclined. And all I'm going to do here, again, I want to try and keep this as lickety-split as possible. So what I'm going to do is from the File Format drop-down menu, I'm going to choose PNG24. There's our transparency getting saved. Make sure you have transparency activated underneath the File Format drop-down menu for PNG24. And then go ahead and save this guy out. Again, my Save button is getting a little bit cut off there. Okay, into the same images folder as we had saved header.bg.jpg, I'm now going to save logo.png. Okay, fair enough. Let's go and save this guy. All right, now we want to get this guy into our code. How are we going to do this? This is the fun part. Okay, I'm going to flip all the way back over to Coda. Go ahead and flip back over there as well. And let's see here. I'm going to head into header.php. And inside header.php, I have a bunch of content inside my header div. You can see all this stuff here, H1, H2, blog info, title, all that stuff. All that junk is this stuff here. Just another WordPress site, Jeff's WordPress theme customization, whatever title you have for your blog there. We don't want that stuff. All we want is a logo. So inside header.php, I'm basically going to grab all this stuff and give it the good old toast. Delete it. We don't need it. Okay? Throw a tab in there. And then I'm going to go and insert the graphics. So open angle bracket, IMG, space, SRC equals, and then in quotes, the path to our graphic. Again, I talked about this in the previous exercise. Our paths to our graphics might be a little bit different depending on our setup. But at least here on the Mac, running a local installation, it's going to be localhost 88. /images/logo.png. Now notice that we're inserting this graphic in a very different way than what you saw in the previous exercise. In the previous exercise, we inserted our graphic into the background of an existing ID selector. Here, I'm just using HTML to dump a graphic into the header div. Okay, so don't forget to close your quote and close your angle bracket on the end. Now let's go and check this guy out. I'm going to go and save this guy and then head back to the browser and refresh. And all right, we got the logo. There's the logo in there. All that text that was in there, Jeff's WordPress theme and just another WordPress site, that's gone, which is great. The only problem is the logo is sitting way up in the top left corner of the div. What am I going to do about that? And by div, I meant header. So what am I going to do about that? Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to head back over to header.php. And, you know, I could do a number of different things. There's a couple of ways to pull this off. You know what I think I'm going to do? This is maybe a little bit of a more complex approach, but I'm going to throw this image that we just inserted into a nested div, which is going to sit inside the header div. So here's what I'm going to do. Right before the image, I'm going to go open angle bracket div, space, and then I'm going to go ID equals, and then in quotes, logo. Close the quote, close the angle bracket. And in my case, Coda is so kind as to close the div tag for me. So I'm just going to cut that and paste it all the way down at the end of the logo. So I just wrapped the graphic into this logo div. Okay. So I'm going to save header.php, and then I'll head over to styles.css, and I'll go and create the code for the logo. So let's see. I'm going to go and find menu. And below menu, I have menu LI. Now, this is usually, by the way, sort of an aside here, this is usually how I set this up. Any CSS that appears inside other containers, again, structurally, I'm thinking, usually what I do, just to help myself out, is I put a tab in front of them so I know, oh yeah, that object, this stuff is inside this guy. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll just hit enter after that guy, make sure he's tabbed in, and then I'll go # logo, because the logo appears inside. No, it doesn't appear inside the menu. What the heck am I thinking? Get rid of that. It goes inside the header. Jeez. It's getting late here, and I'm starting to slowly lose my mind. So there we go. So inside the logo div, that was what I was after. There we go. All right, inside my curly brackets, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to throw in a little bit of padding on this logo. So I'm going to go, well, we can code this a number of ways. I'm going to go padding -top, :space, and I'm going to do 35 pixels for the top, followed by a semicolon. And then we'll do padding -left, and we'll push this guy off the left edge by 10 pixels. How's that sound? So I'm going to go ahead and save all this up, head back over to the browser and refresh, and there we go. There's our logo. Now, I'm going to have to fiddle with that top value. The left value turned out great. The top value, not so much. So I'm running into my menu there. That's no good. So I'm going to have to come back into style.css. Let me try 25 pixels for padding top and then refresh. There we go. 25 is the ticket. 25 did it for me. So again, the bottoms of the letter P's are getting cut off by the menu. So there you go. Lots of fun extracting this content from Photoshop, getting it into the CSS, and seeing the theme starting to take shape, starting to materialize inside our web browser.